While the African National Congress has defended President Jacob Zuma's relationship with the Gupta family, saying there's nothing untoward about the close links that President Zuma enjoys with the business family. Now, this comes as the president faces scathing criticism over his ties to the Gupta family from opposition parties. And the EFF have accused the Guptas of unduly influencing the president. Now, Tumaole Mohlaoli spoke to the ANC's Deputy Secretary General, that's Jacob Duarte, on these matters and others.
Jacob Duarte, thank you very much for speaking to us on SABC News. My first question to you, what is the ANC's view about what transpired at the Constitutional Court, specifically Gauntlet's view that the public protector's findings are binding?
Well, Gauntlet is representing the president, and the president in November last year came to the conclusion that he has to find a way to deal with the matter of what were non-security items in his homestead, and made an offer that he would ask the finance minister and the auditor general to do the investigation. Now, Gauntlet is quite right when he says the public protector didn't like that, and therefore we ended up where we were yesterday with the Con Court. And clearly, from the point of view of law, I think the president is quite right. He understood where he had got to. He had taken advice. But for the political parties, the EFF and the DA, this is just another serial attempt on their part to denigrate the head of state of this country. And as far as we're concerned, let's wait and see what the court will say. The president did the right thing. He went, he advised the court that he would be, this is what he was doing. He offered. The court has to take that into account. And the reality is that is what the public protector recommended, with the exception that she excluded the Auditor General in her first recommendation. And she also had a difficulty about the police minister's report. All of that is water under the bridge, frankly speaking. What is our reality right now is that let's give the Constitutional Court an opportunity to look at this matter from the point of view of how it will impact on our lives in the future as well. This is not about the here and now. This is not about the public protector at the moment. This is about the Constitution. It is about going forward into the future. And the ANC did express a view that our concern is the impact on other Chapter 9 institutions. What does this say about them? Is the Auditor General now going to have to make determinations? And does he no longer have to go to Parliament? You know, those are the kinds of issues that we are concerned about. And we're also concerned that the Parliament should not be downgraded in our Constitution. That is a slippery slope to anarchy. And that is what the EFF wants, quite frankly speaking. They're determined to be anarchic. Their view is not political. And you hear when Julius Malema comes out, he continues with insults. He continues to raise issues that don't connect to the main issue. He then talks about, in the meantime, we've done this now. The next one is the Guptas. And so one isn't clear what Malema's, well, we are clear what he's on about. He's on about chaos. So what we're hoping that the Con Court will provide sobriety, will provide a consolidation of our Constitution, will give us the way forward. And that's all we're hoping for going forward.
Looking forward to the State of the Nation address. In terms of what transpired yesterday at the Con Court, you did touch very briefly about this is more about the nation and about going forward. In terms of the State of the Nation, what is expected? What does the ANC expect?
You know, the State of the Nation must give clarity to the nation on where we're going to. The State of the Nation must provide a very concise record of what we've achieved up to now and how that has impacted on the lives of people. That is critical because, you know, people don't understand that when you build a road, that has an impact on a worker who gets up at 4 a.m. in the morning. They can sleep later. They have more time with their families. When you raise a dam wall, what does that mean for people in a particular area? The state of the nation has to do all of that, but the state of the nation also has to assert that our country is a democracy that is deepening every single day. Our country lives in a difficult economic situation. We have many complexities in our primary sectors of our economy, but the state of the nation must give hope that the way forward is whatever it is going to be. And I think the president has done very well by meeting various sectors of society, asking people, what do you want to see in the state of the nation? I think that's the way to go. And we're all waiting. None of us know what's going to be in the state of the nation. And, you know, the president will tell us. But we're looking forward to hearing where we've come from. And certainly in this year, as the ANC has said, of people's power, the impact of real gains for our people in the last 5 years.
Right. And on another issue that you touched on in the first question, the issue of the thorny issue that there seems to be an orchestrated effort really to embarrass the Gupta family. You mentioned the insults that have been thrown around. What is the ANC's position on this matter? You know,
to us, an investor in our country is to be welcomed. Here is a company that I think they pay their taxes in South Africa. They are providing jobs. They're South African citizens. And there is a tinge of xenophobia linked to the way in which people are expressing themselves. The real elephant in the room, honestly speaking, is not the family. It is about the fact that this family is encroaching on old traditional cabals within the mining industry. And they're saying, we can produce coal at X price, which is much lower than the cost-plus mines have been able to produce over the last 40 years. And so what are they doing is they are being attacked for that reason. And Mr. Malema, unfortunately, is the agent of one or other company. He accuses everybody else of working with the Guptas and being friendly with the Guptas. If you greet the Guptas, that's a problem. If you sit next to the Guptas, that's a problem. But Mr. Malema is not able to understand that the real issue here is the cost to us of the cost of coal, and we rely on 70% of coal for our energy needs. And maybe it's because he might have interest in one or other mine himself. So he's fighting against the people who are lowering his own prospects in the mining industry. So for us, you know, what worries us is the consistent attempt to try to link personally the president to the Gupta families as if that is a problem, when the president has said, my son is a partner of this family, and to try to suggest that there's corruption. So the issue is then, if there's corruption, put it out there. Bring it to the fore, put it out on the table, let's hear what it is. But this nuanced, this innuendo, the constant harping is actually fudging real issues. The real issue is, why do we have to pay over 1,000 rand for coal in one company when the market can actually go from 150 to about 400, depending on the quality of coal? That's the conversation we must have at the moment. The Guptas are not the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is the cost of coal to this country. And
you've raised the issue that the Gupta family, you know, like any other family who comes from outside the country, has a right to be here to invest in the economy. But then how do you ensure that those who have concerns about their presence understand the context that you've just made known right now?
That is our context. And it is the same context that we have about, let's say, Johann Rupert, although his family came maybe during the time of colonization of our country. But his company is registered in London. They pay their taxes in London. Let's ask questions about where are the taxes of other big moguls being paid. All we're saying is, do you denigrate a company that creates jobs in your country, that invests money in your country? We are very welcoming of Anglo-American. They create jobs, although at the moment they're cutting jobs and closing mines. We must say that that's wrong. We are very welcoming as the ANC of all other investors. Why pick one investor? and begin to create a tirade against one investor. What is this about? No one is able to explain this strangeness, you know. And it's all about innuendos. Friends with who, friends with the other. We really, I think that goes into a very low level of political analysis. For us, the analysis is this. Here is a company that invests in South Africa. They bank their money in South Africa. They pay their taxes here. They are good for the country in that sense. What is the problem? So if your son in the future has a relationship with a company, does that make you personally responsible for that relationship? It also doesn't make sense. What is the message that Malema and the DA and others are trying to give to our children? That the children of this country are not allowed to go out and find investments. I think the issue of influence is the question. All capitalists believe that they have influence. All capitalists wish to wine and dine leadership in this country, and frankly speaking, they do. They just don't, it just isn't out there in the market. It is quietly being done. All capitalists can pick up phones and phone ministers. So when people make accusations against ministers, that begins to worry us. And we're saying, if you have facts, put it on the table. But if you're simply going to rely on innuendo, you're creating a problem for the country which is not a fair problem. We don't need that problem right now. What we need is facts. Hard, cold, unmitigated. Cold. And hopefully people who make these accusations can do so. We don't have that problem.
So as a follow-up to that,
Yes.
to your statement, would you say that the allegation that they have undue influence within the ANC is not true?
Well, you know what? I would like to understand how that manifests itself. We sit here every day, certainly here on this floor of the ANC or at the meetings of the ANC, there's no Guptas present there. Now, the way in which people are saying this is that the Guptas are giving people money. Bring the facts. That's all I'm saying. If you're saying that the Guptas have given money to people, ask people to present their bank statements. Let's see. Is it true? Is it not true? What is the reality of this? You know, the sad thing about gossip is that it is infectious and ultimately it is entirely nihilistic. It is intended to destroy. I, for the life of me, can't understand where this comes from. I mean, this family's been around from, I think, the early 90s or even before that, and has had lots of relationships with many people. They accuse one of the things that worries us is that the TNA has come out openly in support of the government, and that makes them the enemy of all the people who are not in support of the current ANC-led government. Now, in many societies, you have newspapers who openly say, we support a particular government. The Mail and Guardian in the last election told people not to vote for the ANC. We're not the enemies of the Mail and Guardian, but the Mail and Guardian have become the enemies of the Gupta family. You don't understand that. So why doesn't the Mail and Guardian bring the facts to the fore? When you read their articles, it's innuendo. Why hasn't the Mail and Guardian done an investigation properly into what happened with the so-called coal mine, where a coal mine was bought by this particular family? We've gone into it because we said, what is this? Let's go and look at it. That coal mine was offering coal at over 500 Rand a ton and wanted not, and the Eskom said, we'll only pay you 150, that's our agreement. And they said, then we'll close this mine. So, you know, let's not look at facts in a way that pleases our ears. Let's look at facts in a way that are really facts. All capitalists talk to each other while we're fighting on the ground about who's who. They're making deals with each other up there. All we're saying is that our problem is not about one family. Our problem is about the price of coal. That is the problem. And unfortunately, this particular family is stepping on the old cabal's toes. And what we need is more people in South Africa to step on the old cabal's toes and to bring the cost of our commodities to us down a little bit so that our energy prices are not so high. That's the point. That's the elephant in the room.
And going forward then again, and not to harp on this issue, but I mean, there's so many allegations that are thrown around. And one of the other issues is that the Gupta's family's relations with the ANC president, going so far as to claim that they have even influence as to the appointment of cabinet ministers. As the ANC, can you clarify?
Let me give you an example. You know, the president has the opportunity to appoint, I think, 2 cabinet ministers who are not members of parliament. But when he has to reshuffle his cabinet, after he's done those 2 appointments, he's only able to look at the cohort of members within parliament to make a selection from. And you know what I find incredibly unfair is that Mr. Van Rooyen, for example, is a member of the Finance Committee. He has the highest qualifications I've seen in any of the finance ministers we've had in South Africa. We don't like Mr. Van Rooyen, so what do? We accuse the president of having been influenced by the Gupta family, which is an absolute lie, because the president looked at the people in parliament and said, so who amongst these should I look at as my Minister of Finance? Somebody from the Finance Committee. All other ministers came from that Finance Committee. Now, of course, the other question is, why didn't he choose the deputy minister? He may have had very good reasons. I doubt, and I really say this very sincerely, what I do know about the president is that he consults the officials about who he might think of, but he makes his own decisions. And it is really something about the character of President Zuma, which people are lacking to understand, is that this is a president who does make his own decisions. We may not always like his decisions, but he does make his own decisions. I don't know how many people have actually tried to influence him negatively who know how they've come off. They haven't come off well. So let me just say this. I think that many people try to influence the ANC. Many people come here. And I'll say that to you. Many business people come here and talk about how communications, for instance, must be run. And it is in their favor. Many people come here and talk about transport. And of course, it's in their favor, but we cannot allow them to make those decisions on policy basis. Nor can we say to a big transport company, okay, we'll put your person as the Minister of Transport. That cannot happen in South Africa. It doesn't work like that. So all I'm saying to you is that it's spurious. And where you have facts, bring the facts. I heard Solly Mapahila saying that cabinet ministers report to the Gupta family. Well, Mr. Mapahila must say who and when do they do this reporting, because what he's doing is he's raising a problem without raising it as a fact. We can't deal with it when it's not tangible, you know. And I think this is wrong to just put it out there. So what are you saying? All the cabinet ministers, one cabinet minister, 2, who? And really, I think the time has come to undo some of the misconceptions and to undo the incorrectness of this, because many people try to influence the ANC-led government. That's the nature of the game. The strength of the ANC-led government is that it does not allow itself to be influenced to such a great extent. It will listen, but it will also take into account the views of people before it makes a decision, but it will not make a decision based on one entity's ideas of anything. And really, I mean, we go through NGCs, we go through branch meetings, we make decisions there. I'm just saying, if you have facts, bring the facts. Otherwise, keep quiet. Don't say what you don't know. But if you have facts, please, the only thing that sets you free is actually the truth, not fabrications of the truth.
And while we have an opportunity to engage with you, one last thing, because you've really touched on a myriad of issues, and we appreciate. But on the allegations that a chunk of advertising from government money is diverted to the Gupta media, both print and broadcasting. I mean, how do you deal with those perceptions, and what informs them?
Over time, it depends. Media depends on your circulation, firstly. But let's also be quite frank and say this. You know, I find it difficult that chunks of money over years went to Sunday Times and Rapport, and the Caxtons and the Star, and nobody raised an eyebrow. Not a single eyelid was raised about why is the government's chunks of money going. Those are private entities. They're not state-run enterprises, you know. And so when people talk in that way, the question I put is, what is exactly the problem? Is it again that maybe the price of the advertising from some of the ANN7 and TNA is less, so it's more attractive, you know, and that this is one of the fastest growing newspapers in the country? Is that the problem? Are they challenging again the old cabals? And is it because they're challenging it? And you know, I must say to you, Muhsin Williams, I respect, because he is an activist of a long time ago. He's a South African and he's a patriot. He will not go and do something that is against the law or outside of the realm of our constitution. To start accusing him, Muhsin Williams, of doing anything wrong, to me looks very wrong. I, however, can say that in the history of our country, we've had media moguls who took decisions to downgrade the ANC, to call us terrorists, and some of the newspapers up to today. The Sunday Times is a case in point, clearly antagonistic to the state and to the government. Now, if you're a minister and you look at the Sunday Times criticizing you and insulting you on a daily basis, will you put your advertising in that newspaper? So maybe the media bosses must also begin to look at the environment within which they are presenting themselves, because there is a perception that why would you go to the Mail and Guardian when the Mail and Guardian's only role in this country right now is to make sure that the ANC gets a lesser percentage in any poll, as they said the last time. Why would any ANC-led minister want to put more money into something that's going to bring... It's freedom of speech, yes. But you know what? As long as the ministers are not breaking the law, as long as they're complying with three newspapers that get the adverts, what's wrong with that? Explain. I mean, the Sunday World, for instance, gets more advertising space out of the government than anyone else. Nobody talks about that. Why? Because the Sunday World is in the cabal. You see? So let's be quite frank about these things. It's not about... the perception is that the cabal is fighting any new entrant. Any new entrant. And we're saying this. Please, more people, set up media houses. Let's challenge the old media regimes. Let's open the space for more South Africans to own media companies here in our country and not denigrate them when they do that.
As stories are broken around the world, SABC makes sure you do not miss out. As the stories unfold throughout the day, News at 8 updates all newsworthy stories worldwide. Globally, we are there. Locally, we leave no story untold. Make a date with News at 8 every Saturday and Sunday on SABC News, Africa's news leader.